I don't even know how to act. Because for years, I've been doing this. And the Cleveland Browns were my skid marks. They were one of my favorite punching bags. They were so much fun to mock and knock, make fun of. And let's be clear, a lot of you enjoyed that. Oh yes, especially members of the Dog Pound, because you knew this organization was a joke. You knew they were a farce. You knew they were crap. You knew they were stupid. Run by a crooked owner, a fraudulent owner, and consistently hiring stupid people to do stupid things and wondering if that cycle was ever going to stop. And apparently it has. I think about where you were a few years ago, Browns fans, and where you are now. It's weird. Like I said again, it's almost kind of uncomfortable. I don't like these Browns. These Browns are good. These Browns entertain their fans. They make their fans feel proud. Like, who wants to see that? I need my skid marks back, damn it! Anyway, there's certainly going to be quite a bit of expectations and hope around this Cleveland Browns franchise heading into the 2021 season. And I can see that. I understand it. I look at this team and I think they've got a good core. They've got some marquee pieces in place. You know, their head coach last year, Kevin Stefanski, in his first year at the helm, did some fantastic things until you got to the playoff game. But even within that playoff game, I think you kind of saw a microcosm of, while it's always easy to say, I'm going to blame the head coach, I'm going to blame the quarterback. You know, there were other things at play there that ultimately cost the Browns. Their defense failed to come up with a stop. You know, let Chad Henne do that. But a big part of the problem there in that game, when it was there to be won, a team that had rode their running game so much throughout the year, when it was time to kind of put the ball in Baker's hands and say, go win us this, go get us to the AFC Championship game, Stefanski was terrified of that, and he didn't do it. It's an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to get better. You know, and this is the moment that Browns fans have been waiting for months, because a lot of you have had a lot of optimism about this and talk about wait until next year, and I understand that. But I also did a video months ago, if you remember, after the season, like saying there are no certain things, there are no guarantees, there are no sure things. You know, when you have an opportunity, you have to pounce. Because you could look back 5 years from now, and the Browns could be back to being this lovely old skid marks again. Certainly possible. So, to their credit, they got busy in the offseason. They did add some people. Like, how much they will impact will remain to be seen. They certainly understood that they had some needs on the defensive line. Brought in Malik Jackson and Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney talking about guards not being as athletic. You know, when you can get back to having a double-digit sack season ever again, you know, like, you can talk your shit. Until then, shut the hell up. Added some talent and depth in that secondary as well, bringing in John Johnson and Troy Hill. You know, you needed somebody along with Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams in that secondary. You're also looking at hopefully getting Grant Delpit back from injury and having him for a full season. I mean, you did invest a second-round pick in him last year. Lost a couple of guys on the defensive line like Ogunjobi and Richardson, but you know, we'll see if they really miss those guys or not. You've got Odell Beckham Jr. returning again from injury, but you know, what's he going to have? How much can you really count on him? You know, that's a deal that at the time, like to defend him, they had to do it. It absolutely made sense. You had to go get that marquee guy. You've invested the first overall pick in a young quarterback. Now you need to go get him a weapon that is representative of the importance of that quarterback, which Odell Beckham Jr. represented. However, need more out of him. Need him to stay healthy. So getting him back in the fold, if he could be healthy, like, it adds another layer to this Browns offense. There's no question about it. In the draft, I wasn't surprised to see them invest their first couple of picks on the defensive side of the ball. Like Greg Newsome the second, you know, he could represent us a bit of a value, a bit of a steal, even where he was taken in round one. It's a really solid all-around corner. Then to be able to get Owusu Koromoa in round two, this is a guy that a lot of people were thinking the Browns are going to take in the second round, or in the first round. And they end up getting him in the second round. We'll see how they utilize him and deploy him. But I know a lot of Browns fans, especially when it came to that defense, was looking and saying, hey, we need some help on that damn defense, and especially in that linebacking core. And brought in Anthony Walker. He's going to help. And then Owusu Koromoa, you got this kind of Swiss Army knife guy. They could play some in even a secondary role, but certainly in a linebacking unit as well. So we will see, how much Newsome and Koromoa are able to impact this team in year one. For this team, I think their strengths remain the same as what they were in 2020. Their running game with a combination of Chubb and Hunt, especially when you look at Nick Chubb, might be arguably the best back in football, especially as a ball carrier. This is a team that's going to be able to run the ball, be able to control the clock, be able to impose a physical identity. That's a good thing. Offensive continuity, like Baker's been the guy starting for a couple of years. Chubb's been the dude. You've got Jarvis Landry, he's been there for a couple of years. Batonio and some of the other guys on the offensive line, not all of them, but some of them, have been there for a couple of years. That continuity, that chemistry is important. It can represent some good things and make a difference in some close, tight games. Defensively, they were solid against the run last year, and I expect them, statistically at least, and I expect them to be the same again this year. Still have some lingering questions for them that feel kind of similar to the questions in 2020. Where's the pass rush going to come from outside of Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett's a beast. He's a franchise edge rusher. He's an elite defensive player in this league. There's no question about it. He is the building block of that defense, but who's going to step up to that level? Who's going to take some of the pressure off of him? Because eventually, if you don't have guys that can help out, teams are going to figure out a way to take Myles Garrett out. The NFL is not for long if you wait too long and put all of your hopes on one guy, no matter how great they are. How's this new look secondary going to hold up? You got some young players in there still with Denzel Ward. He's only been there a couple of years. Greedy Williams, same thing. And now you bring in a John Johnson, Troy Hill. How much is Delpit going to play? This new look secondary is going to be tested, and teams are going to want to go after him. And if they can hold up, this Browns team could be pretty scary. And then I look at them, and as much as those things matter, is there room for growth with Baker Mayfield? You look at him statistically, he's okay. He wasn't fantastic. He had some really nice games, and he had some really Turd Ferguson type of games. Not the level of production you would want in 3 years out of a guy that you invested the number 1 overall pick in, especially in a draft that saw guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson be drafted. Lamar's already won a league MVP. Josh Allen, you could have made an argument for him to be the MVP last year. He's going to have to play like a number 1 overall pick if this Browns team wants to go as far as their potential might suggest that they could. If they want to be playing in a Super Bowl, have a chance to vie for a Lombardi trophy legitimately, viably, for the first time and truly in their organization's history, Baker's got to be better. And Stefanski's got to help him. Personally, I'd rather see them sacrifice a little bit of the running game in the regular season to help Baker develop more. Maybe having an OBJ back is going to help. Maybe. But, there's kind of a carefree piece to Baker sometimes that's not always good. I think sometimes he gets a little rattled. I don't know. He's not a bust. I want to be clear. Guys like Mitchell Trubisky are bust. Josh Rosen was a bust. Baker Mayfield's not a bust. And he's not even bad. He's good. It's just, you don't want to draft a quarterback to be good at number 1 overall. They need him to be great. They need him to be dynamic. They need him to be special. And that ultimately, let's be clear, is going to be what makes the difference of whether or not this Browns team not only can make some noise in the playoffs in January, but potentially could go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Or whether they're a team that can maybe compete in the AFC North, perhaps win the division, make the playoffs, but once you go up against a team like the Chiefs or the Bills or somebody along those lines, they're going to be beatable. That's what it's going to come down to. For this Browns team, I think you've got some notable games on the schedule this year. Week 1 at Kansas City. You're getting tested immediately. The 2-time defending AFC Conference champions. You want to be at that level? Go make a statement in Week 1. They've got an explosive elite offense with, the most exciting quarterback in the game today in Patrick Mahomes. If Baker wants to be that dude, then that's a perfect game for him to showcase that he can be that dude. Then you got Week 5. You're going on the road again, this time to the Chargers, and a young quarterback in Justin Herbert. It's going to look bad for the Browns if they go in there in Week 5 and Herbert outplays Baker Mayfield. You're like, okay, we might have some problems here. And then you look at Weeks 12 and 14. You've got a bye week sandwiched in between 2 games against the Ravens. Like, that might be what ultimately helps determine who wins this division this year. And I look forward to, in the years to come, potentially the rivalry that develops between the Browns and the Ravens, between Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. That could be some really fun shit, frankly. But if the Browns want to win this division, they got to make sure they at least win one of those games. And if they win both of those games against the Ravens, it goes a long, long way. And I look at this team. I sit there and say this. I think they're the best team in this division this year. I think they're going to win this division. I think the Cleveland Browns will go something like 12-5. There you go. They'll get a home playoff game. Might be able to win a playoff game or two. And sometimes I understand that it can be very easy to just sit there and focus and transfix on the quarterback position and say that's all the problems with this team. And it clearly isn't. It clearly isn't. I just want to be clear on that. However, sometimes if you got better out of that quarterback, it masks some of the other deficiencies in other places. This team is ultimately going to go as far as Baker Mayfield takes them, period. And how much Kevin Stefanski trusts in him in big spots, and can Baker deliver, period. That is what this comes down to. If Baker can get closer to the level of Mahomes or an Allen, this Browns team could be dangerous, real dangerous. But if he doesn't, they're going to be exactly what the hell I just said. A team that can win a division, maybe win a playoff game, but not somebody you truly look at as an absolute championship threat. That's the difference to me right now between the Browns and teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and the AFC, is those two teams have elite level type quarterbacks. The Browns have Baker Mayfield. Just think about, if you're a Browns fan right now, if the Browns had Josh Allen, what would you think about this team? You'd be talking so much shit. You'd be talking about how you're coming for the Chiefs. And frankly, I wouldn't fucking blame you. You're not doing that right now with Baker. Because you know, it's year 4. It's time for him to put up or shut up here. And truly establish whether he can be a top flight quarterback in the league or be, just kind of a good starter where you can win games with him, but you don't win a ton of games because of him. Am I rooting for the Browns this year to do well? No. I miss my skid marks. But in reality, sports are cyclical. The NFL certainly is cyclical. And as far as the Browns and their current state, I am happy for Browns fans because I understand the plight of watching a lot of mediocre, bad, shitty, stupid football. And it's got to feel good to feel like you have some type of reason for optimism this year. It's time for put up and shut up time, though, for Baker and the Browns. That's for sure.